And we are back once again with all the action, thrills, chills, and excitement of video game of the year deliberations. Yes, Shacknews Game of the Year 2022 awards, and we are at the best action adventure category. All right, well, let's get to it. There are several games we think are just full of action and adventure and thrills and chills this year. And we're going to talk about them all right now. Who wants to start us off? Who thinks they've got what it takes to lead this category?
I'll give it a shot. For me, action adventure genres can be very fluid, but action adventure to me is the mold set by The Legend of Zelda back in 1986, and Tunic comes closest to that. I think it's the perfect melding for me of Zelda qualities with Souls-like attributes, beautiful art style, very immersive music. I love this game, so I nominate Tunic.
Tunic. Very cute game, but yeah, also tough as nails, which I
Yes.
honestly feel like Zelda games, they're never been the easiest things. They ramp up, I think, especially as you get going in them. Even like early on, those boss fights were very epic. Uh, so I think it carries on that fine tradition. And that fox is so damn adorable.
He's adorable, and I think you made a great point about the boss fights, Blake. And I love that because of Souls, you have the mobility with your character to deal with those boss fights early on. That's why I think it's a firm but fair challenge. Every boss fight.
That's firm, but
But
fair in your
fair.
nomination. Oh man. So this may come as a shock to some of you, but Sam and Denny have nominated God of War Ragnarok. Sam, what's this God of War Ragnarok game? Why haven't you
Well, let me tell you,
mentioned it
Blake.
before?
No, I mean, I think this might be the first time I'm mentioning it, so let me just take 5 minutes here real quick. Nah. So we got a Ragnarok. You go on an adventure. It's full of action. It might not fit into the same mold as Zelda, but I think that there's plenty. I don't, adventure is just the best way to put it, isn't it? Like you start out on this as Kratos, and you're going on this journey with your son as you sort of discover who you are, your emotions. You discover like Atreus growing up, but more than the story, there's areas to explore and puzzles to solve and bosses to fight and unique equipment to acquire. So it's got some echoes of Zelda there. And look, if you've got a PlayStation 5, you got to pick it up, or a PlayStation 4. It's a fantastic conclusion to that adventure, and I think it is a deserving nomination for this category.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like it's on the fence between this and Bayonetta 3, but I think that the adventure side of the action adventure is definitely there in the God of War in a way that makes it a unique experience, I feel like. And the actual action itself is satisfying. I mean, the actual gameplay, combat makes you want to get better in some of those fights as well. So it gets my pick as of right now.
All right. Well, does anyone else have anything to say about God of War or nominations? Okay, let's move on. Oh my goodness. Who would like to go next? Donovan, do you want to talk about your nomination?
I could. I just nominated Horizon Forbidden West. I think the action in that game was great. Awesome set pieces revolving around the various dino bots that you fight throughout. Very straightforward action goodness.
Very straightforward action goodness, yeah. TJ, you nominated.
Yeah, like there is there's an incredible depth of how much space you explore in Horizon Forbidden West. I'm like, you go from like San Francisco Bay to Las Vegas and everywhere in between, and and I never it never occurred to me just how much space you trek across in these games until they gave me that sort of old school landmarks of like you mentioned it, Blake, as one of your favorite parts of this game is that you can actually see like the broken remains of the Golden Gate Bridge sitting off the coast in this game. And then you, like I said, you travel over to like the desert and the remains of Las Vegas and what's going on there. And then of course there's the action itself. Like when you get into a fight in this game, being aware of your surroundings and how you're going to handle things even before the fight begins is such a big part of this. Like I love how much observation goes into Horizon Zero Forbidden West action when you really want to like figure out what you're fighting, how best to fight it, and what tools you should bring to that fight. Just a fun all around. It captures that exact spirit of adventure that David talked about. Just like the sheer weight of exploration, gaining tools that allow you to traverse the world and survive better, and then just like the wonder of it all as you're traveling through it.
I just want to echo that it's I have another nomination I'll get to in a minute, but it definitely hits that. And I think TJ, to your point, with the action side of things, I'm a firm believer that most people aren't good enough to unlock the extensive possibilities with this game's combat. Like I think a lot of people just approach it of like shoot a thing with a bow or hit a thing with the stick, and I think there's so much more depth to the combat and build crafting possibilities that could go into it if you really want to do that. And I think that like from an action side of things, you can draw whatever you want out of that.
You can, with the skill trees, you can build yourself up to brute forcing a situation. You can build yourself up to capturing another machine and making it brute force the situation for you. Or you can just like play it with complete finesse with like you can invest in traps, invest in long distance weapons, and kill them before they ever see you coming.
Yep. Yeah, it's really good. And the cauldrons were kind of like cave diving for me. I really enjoyed like that from the adventure side of things, right? Like, every time you'd walk up to a cauldron, you'd be like, oh boy, here we go. Like there's some nonsense coming up, and it's just really cool, and it always felt like quite the journey. But I have another nomination, Blake, if I may.
I'll allow it.
All right, thank you.
That's sustained.
All right. I would like to nominate Stray. I reviewed Stray for Shacknews, and there's certainly some action in there. I mean, maybe not as much as other games, but on the adventure side of things, I think that more than it's not the longest adventure. I mean, obviously you can beat Stray in a handful of hours, but I just think like every minute of that game is an adventure. Like every building you go into, every alley you turn down, every jump you make, you really get a sense that this cat character that you are playing is on a crazy important and epic journey that's full of danger and discovery. And I think it embodies the idea of adventure from start to finish. Everything about the world invites you to explore it. I like to refer to it as, and I don't think a lot of games do this, but it's a handcrafted world. And that's what really makes you want to explore. Like a street sign is working and will actually take you to where you need to go. Like it'll be like, hey, like there's a block of apartments down here, and then this is the number of these apartments, and you can actually just use every part of that game to sort of like explore it and find your way through. And I just felt like it really brought me in and made me feel like I was on an adventure in that world. It didn't really feel, it felt like a game, but it really helped to sort of make me feel like I was in there, and I was really well, trying to think of the right word, but I was really well connected with the cat in Stray, and I felt like that was partly and a large part due to like the fact that the world just makes it feel like it's one huge adventure. And I think it's safe to say that it is quite the epic adventure if you've played Stray.
It is quite the epic adventure. Yeah, and that cat's just freaking adorable. It's not really action packed. There are intense moments, but you don't really. It's not a combat focused game of in any way, shape, or form. You know, it's just all about being a cat, but it's about being an little kitty cat, and there's a meow button. So you can have, you can make it do all sorts of actions in the game that are just cat actions. So from that perspective, Bill, it's there's some action to be had.
There's action, absolutely. You don't have to convince me. There's lots of action. I mean, it might not be the pew pew action that we like to, generally associate with action, but there's tons of action in there. There's quite a few frantic chase scenes and times when you need to escape something or you need to outrun something or you need to navigate through something, and like high-paced action all over the place. So yeah, it's just an adventure that stood out as being absolutely incredible from start to finish for me. I don't usually return, but I went back and played through Stray again a second time, just to because I thought it was that good. Couldn't get enough of it.
It's also probably the most adorable game nominated in this category too. But let's see, we have at least one more nomination here, and that is probably the best action adventure game of the year, people. Bayonetta 3. Come on. First of all, this is a great opportunity for me to say it's the third Bayonetta in this series, which we all know makes it great. But I mean, it really is great. Like, Bayonetta is known for its over-the-top action. The combo system is very open-ended. You can customize weapons, place and play to your own style, so to speak. And then they're like, why don't we throw giant kaiju monsters and demons in on top of that? And so now, yeah, you can summon like a giant scorpion or a giant demon woman or just like, giant monsters of every sort in order to do your bidding in this game. On top of all the regular combo action, there's some really over the top weapons here that you get, including like a giant like club that is probably about 4 or 5 sizes the time of Bayonetta. So like a regular sword in Final Fantasy, like a short sword in Final Fantasy, basically. And yeah, it just goes from there. There's a little bit of exploration here and there, but it mostly focuses on getting you from like action to action point. But you also have like a great plot in between everything that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's Platinum Games. I mean, basically, Bayonetta is like the Devil May Cry series, pomp and circumstance, just the rock and roll, in my opinion. And I'm a huge fan of the Bayonetta series personally, and I've been waiting so damn long for Bayonetta 3. It's finally here. It didn't disappoint. It's really fantastic. If you haven't played it and like these kinds of games, you owe it to yourself to check it out. That's all I got to say about Bayonetta 3. Morgan, you want to back me up here? Back me up. I'm tagging you in.
I mean, yeah, I also picked Bayonetta 3 for this category. I think in terms of action adventure, it's got both of those in spades. You have this big demon cat that you can summon to just body slam an enemy out of nowhere. I love that. You have like, there's never like a slow or dull moment, I feel like in Bayonetta 3. There's always something going on. Like, even as you're exploring, there's something to find. There's things to collect. There's Road in the Shop, which I love. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think Bayonetta 3 really nailed it for me for action adventure this year.
Hell yeah. Me as well. I'm right there with you, Morgan. But I think we've established that Morgan and I are both Bayonetta stands well before we started discussing this. But I think that's it. I don't think we have any other nominations in the category. Do we, Bill? Bill's keeping me honest here.
I can take a peek.
It looks like we're good.
I think we are good.
We are good.
Yeah. Actually, no. I think we're good.
No, actually, no. We're good. All right.
Actually, no, we're good.
All right. Not confusing at all. Let's see. Bill, let's start with you. What do you say?
You know what? I will not be upset if this is the only vote, but I feel strongly about giving my vote to Stray.
If Bayonetta 3 didn't exist, I would be right there with you. But before we get to me, Sam.
I think the sense of discovery and the cute manual in Tunic deserves my vote, so I'm rocking it for Tunic.
Rocking it for Tunic. Yeah, I'm sticking with Bayonetta 3. There's just too much I love about it to not vote for Bayonetta 3. What about you, Steve?
I'm going for Tunic. Feels so much like a Zelda game that I have to go with that.
All right, David L. Craddock.
I'm gonna stick with Tunic.
Denny.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean in with Bayonetta 3, I think.
Good man, Denny. Kudos to you. Donovan.
Tunic.
All right, Greg.
Bayonetta.
Tring. TJ. Horizon. Forbidden West. Morgan.
Bayonetta.
And now we got to take a look at these absentee votes really quickly. So let's check. Oh, Asif voted for Bayonetta 3. A man of refined sophistication and taste, if I do say so myself. And then we've got to get
Ozzy voted Tunic.
Ozzy voted Tunic. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness gracious. Well. We have ourselves a tie between Bayonetta 3 and Tunic.
You're telling me that this falls into me and Bill's hands?
It does. TJ, buddy, old pal, co-host of the Shacknews Dump.
Bill, I'm going to toss this over to you first.
Ooh,
hey, you know what? This is a tennis match. Back to you, TJ.
Oh.
Well, we've both used our one chance a day.
No, I have not used my one chance.
That's some super sloppy double dare right there. I'm afraid it comes down to the physical challenge. Shit, we don't have a physical challenge.
One thing that stands out in my mind about Tunic is that they wrote an entire language for that game that you can parse together by paying very close attention and exploring thoroughly. And I think that's one of the most interesting things as far as just like building lore into your adventure. I think that and so many other things means I kind of have to lean towards Tunic.
All right.
Bill Lavoie, you have an interesting.
I do have an interesting
position here.
Yeah, I recently dug into both of these games, and I got to go with Tunic.
Ah!
I gotta go with Tunic.
Ah! Right into my heart.
I'm sorry, man.
Bill.
I am sorry,
Bill,
man.
You just
But-
grabbed the gun and shot my dog's head off
Jesus.
in front of me. Wow.
It's a little
Wow.
extreme, but
Man.
Tunic's just a delightful game.
Wow.
And you know what? Like that's really close for me, honestly. But yeah, I was absolutely loving my time in Tunic, and I think it gets the edge for me.
Well, there you have it. When it comes to this game, the folks at Shacknews couldn't. There was no such thing as too much Tunic for anybody here. I suppose best action adventure game goes to Tunic.